The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, though nobody on Earth would remember that detail later. What they would remember was the moment every screen on the planet displayed the same thing: a towering alien figure with 4 eyes and scaled, purple skin, speaking in perfect English through some kind of translation technology. "Humans of Earth," the alien said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I am High Chancellor Vorthak of the Galactic Dominion. Your planet has been discovered. You will surrender within 30 of your rotational cycles, or you will be destroyed." The broadcast ended. Panic followed. Captain Elena Vasquez watched the message from the bridge of the Defiant, humanity's newest and most experimental warship. She was floating in orbit above Earth, running tests on systems that barely worked half the time. The ship hummed around her, its experimental engines making sounds that the engineers swore were normal but still made everyone nervous. "Captain, we're receiving emergency recall orders," her communications officer said. Lieutenant Chen looked young and worried. Everyone looked worried these days. "Take us down," Elena said quietly. She stared at the blue planet below, so peaceful from up here. In 30 days, an alien armada would arrive to conquer it. 30 days to save 8 billion people. The United Earth Council met in Geneva. Elena sat in the back of the observation gallery, still in her flight suit. She had been summoned but not invited to speak. That was fine. She wanted to listen. "We have no choice," one delegate argued. "Their technology is clearly superior. Our weapons would be like throwing stones at tanks." "We don't know that," another countered. "We haven't even seen their ships yet." "We've seen their communications technology," the first delegate shot back. "They hacked every system on Earth simultaneously. They translated our languages instantly. What do you think their weapons can do?" The debate went on for hours. Elena felt her jaw tightening with each passing minute. These people were talking about surrender without even trying to fight. They were talking about giving up humanity's freedom to beings they knew nothing about. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She stood up. "Captain Vasquez, you're out of order," the council president said. "With respect, sir, so is this entire conversation," Elena replied. She walked down to the speaking floor, ignoring the protests. "You're debating surrender to an enemy that hasn't even introduced themselves properly. They gave us a demand, not a negotiation. They called us primitives without knowing anything about us. And you want to roll over?" "What choice do we have?" someone shouted. "We fight," Elena said simply. "We take the Defiant, we go out there, and we show them that humanity doesn't surrender to bullies." The room erupted in arguments. The council president hammered his gavel uselessly. "The Defiant is experimental," the military liaison said. "Half its systems are untested. Its weapons are theoretical at best. You want to take our only advanced ship on a suicide mission?" "I want to buy us time," Elena corrected. "I want to show them that conquering Earth won't be easy. Maybe they'll decide we're not worth the trouble. Maybe they'll want to negotiate for real. Or maybe we'll learn something about their technology that helps us fight back. But doing nothing guarantees we lose. And doing something stupid guarantees you die," the liaison said. "The Defiant has a crew of 50. You want to sacrifice 50 lives on a maybe?" "I want to sacrifice 50 volunteers to save 8 billion people," Elena said, "and I'm one of those volunteers." The council argued for another 3 hours. In the end, they voted against Elena's plan. The official Earth response would be to attempt diplomatic contact and, failing that, to surrender with conditions for humanity's fair treatment. Elena walked out of the chamber feeling sick. She went back to her quarters and sat in the dark, thinking about her grandfather who had fought in Earth's last major war, thinking about the stories he told her about refusing to give up even when things looked hopeless, thinking about what it meant to be human. Her communicator buzzed. It was her first officer, Commander James Wright. "Captain, hypothetically speaking," James said carefully, "if someone were to take the Defiant without authorization, they would need a crew. Hypothetically, I know 49 people who might volunteer for such an unauthorized mission." Elena smiled in the darkness. Hypothetically, that would be mutiny. Hypothetically, yes, ma'am. Hypothetically, when would this mutiny occur? Hypothetically, in about 3 hours. Just enough time to load supplies and clear the orbital platform. Elena stood up. I'll be there in 2 hours, hypothetically. The Defiant launched at midnight. By the time Earth's Defense Command realized what was happening, the ship was already accelerating past the moon. Angry transmissions followed them, ordering them to return immediately. Elena ignored them all. Set course for the outer system, she ordered. If the Dominion is coming, they'll arrive at the edge of our solar system first. That's where we'll meet them. Captain, her science officer said, we have no idea what we're up against. We could be flying into a fleet of thousands. Then we better make those first shots count, Elena replied. The crew worked frantically over the next week, preparing every system on the Defiant. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, built from the combined knowledge of every nation on Earth. Its experimental faster-than-light drive could create localized distortions in space. Its weapons included prototype railguns, missile systems with AI guidance, and something the scientists called quantum disruption torpedoes that nobody fully understood, but everyone agreed looked impressive when they tested them. The ship also had problems. The engines overheated. The weapons took too long to recharge. The sensors glitched randomly. The artificial gravity failed every other day. But it was humanity's best shot, and Elena was determined to make it work. On day 27, their sensors picked up something at the edge of the solar system. Something big. A lot of somethings. Captain, we're reading massive energy signatures, the sensor officer reported. Distance, 3 light hours. Number of contacts, I'm counting over 8,000 distinct signatures. No, wait, more are appearing. 9,000, 9,500. Elena felt her stomach drop. 10,000 ships. The Dominion hadn't sent a fleet. They'd sent an armada large enough to conquer 100 worlds. All right, Elena said, forcing her voice to stay steady. Let's go say hello. Helm, take us in. Weapons, start charging everything we've got. Communications, prepare a message. What message, Captain? Chen asked. Elena smiled grimly. Tell them that humanity received their ultimatum. Tell them we have a response. And tell them they're not going to like it. The Defiant accelerated toward the Armada. 1 ship against 10,000. 50 humans against an empire. It should have been suicide. It should have been hopeless. But Elena Vasquez had learned something important from her grandfather's stories. Humans had a special talent, one that the Dominion was about to discover. When faced with impossible odds, when told they couldn't win, when given every rational reason to surrender, humans had a tendency to do something completely irrational. They fought anyway. The Dominion's ultimate armada waited at the edge of humanity's solar system, like a wall of metal and power. 10,000 ships floated in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the distant starlight. Each vessel was larger than any human ship ever built. Together, they represented the military might of an empire that had conquered 3,000 worlds. Grand Admiral Thexaron stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominance. His 4 eyes watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The human deadline had passed 2 cycles ago, and still no response had come from Earth. Soon he would give the order to advance, and this primitive world would fall like all the others. Admiral, his sensor officer called out. We're detecting a single ship approaching our position. Thexaron's eyes narrowed. 1 ship? What kind? Unknown design, small, mass approximately 1/10 of our lightest destroyer. It's broadcasting a message. Play it, Thexaron ordered. The bridge speakers crackled to life. A human female's voice, speaking in clear Dominion standard language, filled the command center. Attention Galactic Dominion Fleet. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Defiant. We received your ultimatum. Here's our response. Go home. Earth is not yours to take. If you want to fight, you've got one. But I'm giving you this one chance to turn around and leave peacefully. Silence fell across the bridge. Then someone laughed. The laughter spread until the entire command crew was howling with amusement. 1 ship. 1 tiny ship had come to challenge the ultimate armada. Is this a joke? Thexaron wondered aloud. Do these primitives not understand numbers? Perhaps they sent their champion, his second-in-command suggested. Some species have customs about single combat. Then we shall humor them, Thexaren decided. Battle Group 7, advance and destroy that ship. The rest of the fleet will watch and learn what happens to those who defy the Dominion. Battle Group 7 consisted of 100 warships. They moved forward in standard assault formation, their weapons charging, their shields at maximum. Against any normal opponent, it would have been overwhelming force. The Defiant did not run. It accelerated directly toward them. Interesting, Thexaren murmured. Perhaps they have courage, at least. On the Defiant's bridge, Elena watched the enemy ships approach. Her hands were steady on her command chair's armrests, though her heart was hammering. Weapons range in 30 seconds, her tactical officer reported. Hold fire, Elena ordered. Let them get close. James, prepare the drones. Commander Wright nodded. Drones ready. All 50 of them. Captain, they're targeting us, Chen warned. Energy signatures spiking across all enemy ships. Wait for it, Elena said softly. 20 seconds, 15-10. The enemy ships opened fire. Beams of energy and missile salvos filled the space between the two forces. The Defiant's shields flared as impact struck home. Alarms blared across the bridge. Shields at 60%, someone called out. Now, Elena shouted. Helm full evasive pattern Theta 7. Weapons fire everything. Launch the drones. The Defiant suddenly wasn't where the enemy expected it to be. Its experimental drive created a bubble of distorted space around the ship, and when that bubble collapsed, the Defiant had moved 300 kilometers in an instant. The human ship appeared directly in the middle of the enemy formation. Fire, Elena said calmly. The Defiant's railguns opened up at point-blank range. Solid slugs of metal, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, punched through enemy shields like they weren't there. 3 Dominion ships exploded immediately. The quantum disruption torpedoes launched next, their warheads tearing apart the atomic bonds in whatever they touched. 5 more ships simply came apart at the molecular level. But the real surprise was the drones. 50 small craft, each no bigger than a car, shot out from the Defiant in every direction. They moved with impossible speed and agility, their AI brains calculating trajectories faster than any organic pilot could match. The Dominion ships tried to shoot them down, but the drones were too small, too fast, and too many. They latched onto enemy hulls and detonated. Unlike normal explosives, these were fusion devices. Miniature suns bloomed across the battlefield, each one taking a Dominion ship with it. Kamikaze drones? Thexaren whispered in horror. They're using kamikaze drones? The battle became chaos. The Defiant moved through the enemy formation like a ghost, appearing and disappearing, firing and vanishing before return fire could hit. Human weapons that the Dominion had never seen before tore into ships built to withstand conventional warfare. Elena's crew worked with practiced precision. They had trained for this. They had prepared for this. They had accepted that they might die doing this. But they were going to hurt the enemy first. Target the command ship, Elena ordered. I want to send a message. The Defiant materialized directly above the battle group's flagship. Every weapon fired at once. The enemy ship's shields held for exactly 2 seconds before collapsing. The railgun slugs tore through the bridge section. The command ship listed, its engines failing, and began drifting helplessly. Captain, we're down to 40% shields, James reported. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7. Engines are overheating. Time to leave, Elena decided. Helm, get us into that debris field. Full stealth mode. The Defiant shot toward the wreckage of destroyed ships, its experimental stealth systems engaging. To enemy sensors, the human ship simply vanished, lost among the tumbling metal and expanding gas clouds. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Thexaren stared at his tactical display in shock. Battle Group 7 was in ruins. 47 ships destroyed, 31 crippled, 22 retreating in disorder, all done by a single enemy vessel in 17 minutes. Find that ship, he roared. All ships, maximum sensor sweep. I want it found and destroyed now. But the Defiant was gone, hidden in the debris, its systems powered down to minimum levels. The Dominion ships searched frantically, firing into wreckage at every false sensor reading. They found nothing. Inside the darkened Defiant, Elena and her crew caught their breath. They had taken damage, lost 3 crew members to the hull breaches, and used up half their ammunition. But they had proven something important. Captain, Chen said quietly, Earth is receiving feeds from the Dominion communication network. Our battle is being broadcast across their empire. Good, Elena said. Let them watch. Let them all see what happens when you pick a fight with humanity. What now? James asked. Elena smiled tiredly. Now we rest for an hour. Then we hit them again. And again. And again. We're going to make the Dominion regret ever finding Earth. We're going to teach them that humans don't surrender, we don't give up. And we definitely don't play fair. She stood up and addressed her crew. You all volunteered for this knowing we probably wouldn't survive. But we're not here to survive. We're here to buy Earth time and show the galaxy what humans are made of. Today, 50 of us bloodied the nose of an empire. Tomorrow, we're going to do worse. The crew cheered, exhausted but determined. They had faced impossible odds and won the first round. They knew the next battles would be harder. They knew the enemy would adapt. They knew their luck couldn't last forever. But for now, in this moment, one human ship had challenged 10,000 and lived to tell the tale, and across the Dominion on thousands of worlds, beings watched the footage and wondered the same thing Thexaran was wondering. What kind of species builds weapons that violate warfare conventions? What kind of species uses kamikaze drones without hesitation? What kind of species looks at impossible odds and attacks anyway? What kind of species were these humans? The answer they would learn was simple. The kind that doesn't lose because they're told they can't win. The kind that turns desperation into innovation. The kind that, when backed into a corner, comes out fighting with everything they have and several things they just invented. The kind that makes a very dangerous enemy. Grand Admiral Thexaran had not slept in 3 cycles. His 4 eyes were bloodshot, his scales had lost their luster, and his temper had become legendary among his staff. The ultimate Armada, which had never known defeat in its 500-year history, was being humiliated by a single human ship. Report, he demanded, entering the command center. His tactical officer looked exhausted. 2 more ships lost in Sector 7. The human vessel ambushed a supply convoy. They destroyed the escorts and stole medical supplies before vanishing. We found the wreckage 3 hours later with another message carved into the debris field using laser burns. What did it say? Thexaran asked, though he dreaded the answer. Thanks for the supplies. Your injured crews will need them more than us. And then there's a symbol. Our translation computers say it's called a smiley face. Thexaran's claws dug into his command chair. In 2 weeks, the Defiant had become a ghost story. It appeared without warning, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The human ship hit supply lines, communications relays, and isolated vessels. It never fought fair, never followed standard warfare protocols, and never stopped moving. Worse, the human captain was playing psychological warfare. She left messages in the wreckage, mathematical equations proving human intelligence, philosophical texts demonstrating human culture, historical records of human military tactics, and increasingly sarcastic jokes that somehow translated perfectly into Dominion language and made the Admiral look like a fool. How? Thexaran demanded. How does one ship evade 8,000 vessels? Their stealth technology is beyond anything we've encountered, his science officer explained. And their captain fights like nothing in our tactical databases. She doesn't follow any known strategic patterns. She uses methods that are considered dishonorable, impractical, or insane, sometimes all 3. Show me her latest attack, Thexaran ordered. The tactical display replayed the ambush from 6 hours ago. A Dominion battlecruiser had been patrolling alone, overconfident. The Defiant had appeared from behind an asteroid, fired a full salvo, then immediately attached something to the enemy hull before jumping away. The object was a beacon that broadcast the battlecruiser's exact position to every Dominion ship in the sector. For the next hour, the cruiser's own allies had accidentally fired on it, thinking it was the Defiant. By the time they realized their mistake, the ship was crippled, and the real Defiant was light years away. She's making us shoot ourselves, Thexaran muttered. Sir, we have another problem, his intelligence officer reported. Morale is collapsing. 17 ships have reported crews refusing to patrol alone. 5 captains have requested reassignment, and the other species in the Dominion are watching. Some are asking questions about whether conquering Earth is worth the cost. Thexaran slammed his fist on his chair. 1 ship. 1 primitive ship with 50 crew members. How are they doing this to us? On the Defiant, Elena studied the holographic map of the solar system. Red dots marked Dominion positions. Blue dots marked where she planned to hit next. Her ship was battered, running on spare parts and improvisation, but her crew remained determined. "Captain, we're down to 30% ammunition," James reported. "Life support is failing on Deck 5. We've had to seal it off. And the engines are held together with, and I quote from engineering, hope and prayers. How's our fuel?" Elena asked. "Surprisingly good. Those supply raids helped. We've got enough for another week of operations." Elena nodded. "Then we keep going." "What's our next target?" "I've been thinking about that," James said. He pulled up a sensor reading. "The Dominion is spread thin trying to find us. But there's one place they've concentrated forces here." He pointed to a cluster of ships. "It's their communication hub, the flagship that coordinates the fleet." "The Eternal Dominance," Elena said softly. "You want to attack their admiral directly?" "Not attack, embarrass," James smiled. "I've been studying their military culture. Honor is everything to them. If we can make their admiral look incompetent, the entire fleet's confidence will shatter." Elena considered this. It was risky. It was audacious. It was probably crazy. I like it. "How do we do it?" Over the next 2 days, the Defiant gathered intelligence. They intercepted Dominion communications. They studied patrol patterns. They identified the flagship's defenses. Elena's science officer discovered something interesting. The Dominion used a unified command network, and the Eternal Dominance was the central node. "If we can hack into their network," the science officer explained, "we could access everything. Their tactical plans, their supply routes, their private communications." "Can we do it?" Elena asked. "We'd need to get close, really close. And we'd need time to break their encryption." Elena smiled. "I have an idea." The plan was insane, which meant it was probably perfect. The Defiant would pretend to be damaged and drifting. They would let the Dominion find them. When the enemy closed in for the kill, they would hack into the network through the attacking ship's communication links. It required perfect timing and incredible luck. "This could easily get us killed," James pointed out. "True," Elena agreed. "But think of the stories if it works." The Defiant powered down most of its systems and began broadcasting a distress signal. They floated in space, seemingly helpless, their hull scarred and venting atmosphere from carefully controlled leaks. They didn't have to wait long. 6 Dominion warships detected them and moved in cautiously. The human ship didn't move, didn't power up weapons, just drifted like a dead whale in the ocean. Energy readings minimal, the Dominion sensor officer reported. "The ship appears disabled. Maintain distance," the squadron commander ordered. "It could be a trap." "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." "It's their captain." Elena's face appeared on their screens. She looked exhausted, defeated. "This is Captain Vasquez. Our ship is dying. Our crew is dying. We want to negotiate surrender." The Dominion commander felt a surge of triumph. Finally, the ghost was caught. "You have caused great damage, human. Why should we accept your surrender?" "Because we have information," Elena said. "Complete tactical data on Earth's defenses. Locations of our remaining ships. Everything you need for an easy conquest. In exchange, you let my crew live." The commander hesitated. This could be the breakthrough the admiral needed. "Stand by." He contacted the Eternal Dominance. Thexarin listened to the report with suspicion. "It's a trap." "Perhaps," the commander agreed. "But if it's not, we finally have them." "Approach carefully," Thexarin ordered. "I'm sending reinforcements. If this is real, I want to see this human captain in chains. If it's a trap, I want overwhelming force there to crush her." More ships moved toward the Defiant's position. 20 vessels now surrounded the seemingly helpless human ship. They closed in slowly, weapons charged, ready for any trick. On the Defiant's bridge, Elena watched them approach. "Now," she whispered. Her science officer's fingers flew across his console. Invisible signals shot out from the Defiant, carried on the same frequencies the Dominion used for communication. The signals found the enemy ship's network ports and began their attack. Human computer viruses designed specifically for Dominion systems poured into the network. "We're in," the science officer reported. "Full access to their communications. Download everything," Elena ordered. "Tactical plans, fleet positions, supply routes, everything." "Captain, they're hailing us again," Chen reported. "Keep them talking," Elena said. For 5 minutes, Elena negotiated, stalling for time while her crew ransacked the Dominion's computer systems. They downloaded terabytes of data. Battle plans, strategic assessments, personal communications between commanders, everything. And then, because Elena couldn't help herself, she did something extra. She accessed the Eternal Dominance's communication system directly. She found Thexaren's personal log, and she edited it. "Captain, we have everything," her science officer announced. "And I've uploaded your surprise package to their network." "Excellent," Elena said. She looked at the view screen showing the Dominion commander. "Actually, I changed my mind about surrendering." "Bye!" The Defiant's engines roared to life. The ship jumped away in an instant, leaving the Dominion vessel scrambling. By the time they realized they'd been tricked, the human ship was gone. Thexaren was furious when he heard the news. But his fury turned to horror when he discovered what the humans had done. His personal log had been edited. His private thoughts had been replaced with entries praising human ingenuity and admitting the Dominion couldn't match human tactical brilliance. The fake entries were automatically broadcast across the entire fleet's communication network. Worse, the humans had stolen every secret the Dominion had. Fleet positions, tactical plans, everything. The advantage was gone. "Find her!" Thexaren screamed. "I want every ship searching. I want that human caught and—" His communication system activated on its own. Elena's face appeared on every screen in the fleet simultaneously. She was smiling. "Hello, Admiral," she said pleasantly. "Thanks for the data. It's been very educational. I especially enjoyed your personal log. Very poetic. Anyway, I wanted to let you know that we've sent all your tactical information back to Earth. Our military is studying it now. They're particularly interested in your plan to bombard our major cities. That's not going to happen, by the way. You," Thexaren started to say. "Also," Elena continued, "I've been thinking. You came here to conquer Earth because you thought we were weak, primitive, easy prey, but I've looked at your tactical database now. Do you know how many species you've conquered? 3,000. And do you know how many of them fought back the way we're fighting? 0. They all surrendered when they saw your fleet. They all gave up without trying." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "But humans? We don't surrender. We don't give up. You want Earth? You're going to have to take it from our cold, dead hands. And even then we'll probably have booby-trapped our own corpses." The transmission cut off. In the darkness of space, the Defiant flew on, hunted but unbowed. Behind it, the ultimate Armada struggled to reorganize, its confidence shattered, its secrets stolen, its admiral humiliated. The hunter had become the hunted, and the galaxy was watching. Grand Admiral Thexaren stood before the holographic star map with grim determination. 3 weeks of chasing the human ship had cost him over 2,000 vessels. Not all destroyed, but damaged, demoralized, or simply abandoned by crews who had lost faith in their commander. The ultimate Armada was becoming a joke, and the entire Dominion was watching his humiliation. But now, finally, he had the perfect trap. "The Kepler Nebula," he explained to his assembled commanders. "It's a dense cloud of gas and exotic particles. Sensors don't work properly inside. The human ship's stealth technology will be useless, and there's nowhere to run. Once they enter, we'll have them surrounded. But why would they enter?" one commander asked. Thexaren smiled coldly. "Because we'll give them something they can't resist. We'll broadcast a distress signal, a human refugee ship, supposedly fleeing from a Dominion patrol. Their captain has shown a weakness for protecting others. She won't be able to ignore it." "What if she sees through the deception?" another commander worried. "Then we still win," Thexaren said. "We have 8,000 ships positioned around the nebula. Even if she doesn't enter, she has nowhere else to go. We've finally cornered her." The plan was set in motion. A false distress signal began broadcasting from inside the Kepler Nebula. The message was perfect. Panicked humans begging for rescue, claiming their ship was damaged and they couldn't escape. The Dominion fleet positioned itself carefully around the nebula's perimeter, weapons ready, waiting for the Defiant to make its final mistake. Aboard the Defiant, Elena listened to the distress signal with a grim expression. Her crew gathered around her, waiting for her decision. "It's obviously a trap," James said. "The signal's transmission pattern is wrong. No human ship would use that frequency, and there's no record of any refugee vessel in this sector." "I know," Elena said quietly. "So we ignore it?" Chen asked hopefully. "No," Elena said. "We're going in." The bridge erupted in protest. James held up his hand for silence. "Captain, explain." Elena pulled up a star chart. "I've been studying this nebula. It's not just a sensor dead zone. The exotic particles inside react violently with the Dominion's shield technology. I've been running simulations. Their shields will be weakened inside, maybe fail completely. But so will ours, the science officer pointed out. True, Elena agreed, but we've got something else. See this? She highlighted a region deep in the nebula. There's a brown dwarf star in there, a failed star that never quite ignited. It's unstable, and those exotic particles in the nebula are feeding into it, making it more unstable. With the right push, we could trigger a chain reaction. Understanding dawned on James's face. You want to blow up the star, not blow up. Destabilize. Create an expanding shockwave that would tear through the nebula and catch every ship inside its range, including us, someone pointed out. Yes, Elena admitted, including us. But we've got our experimental drive. We can create those space distortion bubbles. We might be able to ride the shockwave out if we time it perfectly. Might? James asked. Might, Elena confirmed. I'd say it's about a 30% chance of survival. The bridge fell silent. 30%. Those were terrible odds, but they had known from the start this was a one-way mission. I've been thinking, Elena continued. The Admiral isn't stupid. He knows this is the perfect trap for us. But what he doesn't know is that I know it's a trap, and I've been leading him here. For 3 weeks, every jump, every battle, every escape route I took was designed to push the Armada toward this nebula. He thinks he's been chasing me, but I've been hurting him. That's insane, someone whispered. Yes, Elena agreed, but it might just work. The Dominion has thousands of ships. We have one. We can't beat them in a fair fight. But if we can get them all in one place in an environment that neutralizes their advantages, and then change the battlefield itself. She let the thought hang. James studied the star chart, running calculations in his head. Finally, he nodded. It could work. It's crazy, but it could work. All in favor? Elena asked. Every hand went up. Then let's go spring their trap, Elena said, and show them what happens when you hunt humans. The Defiant accelerated toward the Kepler Nebula. The Dominion fleet detected them immediately. On the Eternal Dominance, Thexaren felt a surge of triumph. She's taking the bait, he announced. All ships prepare to advance. The moment she enters the nebula, we follow. I want her surrounded. This ends today. The Defiant plunged into the dense purple clouds of the nebula. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Sensors went haywire. The ship shook as exotic particles bombarded its hull. Shields failing, someone reported. Down to 40%, 30, 20. Divert all power to engines and weapons, Elena ordered. We won't need shields where we're going. Behind them, the Dominion fleet entered the nebula. Thousands of ships pushed into the dense clouds following their prey. Their shields flickered and failed. Their sensors showed ghosts and shadows, but they pressed on, driven by their admiral's determination and the promise that the hunt was almost over. Captain, they're committing everything, James reported. Over 7,000 ships inside the nebula now. The rest are guarding the exits. Perfect, Elena said. Helm, take us deeper. Head for the brown dwarf. Full speed. The Defiant raced through the nebula, the Dominion fleet in pursuit. The nebula grew denser, more violent. Ships collided in the poor visibility. The exotic particles began eating through hulls. But still they chased. Thexaren watched his tactical display with growing concern. The nebula was worse than expected. He had already lost 50 ships to collisions and system failures. But the human ship was close. So close. Sir, we're detecting massive energy readings ahead, his sensor officer reported. It's a stellar body, a brown dwarf. Why is the human heading there? Thexaren wondered. He was about to find out. The Defiant emerged from the densest part of the nebula into a clearing. There, hanging in space like a malevolent red eye, was the brown dwarf. The failed star pulsed with unstable energy, fed by the exotic particles swirling around it. That's our target, Elena said. Weapons, load every torpedo we have left. Set them for maximum yield. I want them all to detonate simultaneously inside that star. Captain, that will... The weapons officer started. I know what it will do, Elena interrupted. That's the point. Fire when ready. The Dominion fleet emerged from the nebula clouds surrounding the clearing. They had the Defiant trapped. Thexaren opened a channel. Human captain, he said. You're surrounded. Your shields are gone. Your weapons are minimal. Surrender now and I promise you a quick death. Elena's face appeared on his screen. She was smiling. You know, Admiral, you're right. I am surrounded. But I'm not trapped. You are. Thexaren frowned. What are you? Fire, Elena said calmly. Every remaining torpedo on the Defiant launched at once. 37 missiles streaked toward the brown dwarf. The Dominion ships moved to intercept, but they were too slow. Their systems still affected by the nebula's interference. The torpedoes struck the brown dwarf simultaneously. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the star began to change. The exotic particles that had been feeding it suddenly catalyzed. The brown dwarf's core, already unstable, reached critical mass. It couldn't become a true star, but it could do something else. It could explode. All ships, emergency jump! Thexaren screamed. Get out of the nebula now! But it was too late. The brown dwarf erupted in a cascade of energy. Not a supernova, but something almost as terrible. A shockwave of superheated particles and radiation expanded outward at incredible speed, fed by the exotic materials in the nebula. It was like a flood of fire, washing through the Kepler nebula, consuming everything in its path. Dominion ships tried to flee. Their drives failed in the particle-dense environment. Their shields were already down. The shockwave caught them one by one, tearing through hulls, cooking crew members alive, ripping ships apart at the atomic level. The Defiant had a few seconds head start. Now, Elena shouted. Maximum power to the drive. Create the biggest distortion bubble we can. The experimental drive screamed as it bent space around the ship. For a moment, the Defiant existed in a pocket of normal space while the shockwave raged around it. Then the pocket moved, riding the wave like a surfer riding a tsunami, using the explosion's own energy to propel the ship forward. The Defiant shot out of the nebula at impossible speed, smoking, burning, barely holding together. Behind it, the shockwave expanded, filling the nebula with death. Ships by the hundreds, then thousands, simply ceased to exist. Thexaren watched in horror as his fleet died. His own ship at the nebula's edge caught only the edge of the blast. It was enough. The eternal dominance listed, its engines failing, life support flickering. Around him, what remained of the ultimate armada fled in every direction. Damage report, he whispered. 7,300 ships lost, someone said, voice numb with shock. Another 800 damaged. 400 fled. Sir, the fleet is destroyed. The admiral slumped in his command chair. Destroyed. The ultimate armada, pride of the Dominion, shattered by one human ship and one insane plan. In the wreckage, the Defiant tumbled through space, its hull breached in a dozen places, fires burning on every deck. But it was alive. It was moving, and its captain was smiling despite the blood running down her face from a head wound. Status? Elena asked. We're alive, James said, sounding amazed. Barely, but we're alive. Captain, we did it. We actually did it. Earth? Elena asked. Safe. The Dominion fleet is destroyed. Earth is safe. Elena nodded slowly, then passed out from her injuries. Around her, her crew began damage control, putting out fires, sealing breaches, trying to keep their ship together long enough to get home. They had sprung the enemy's trap, but they had turned it into a trap of their own. And the hunter had learned a terrible lesson about what happens when you corner prey that doesn't know how to give up. The Defiant drifted through space like a dying animal. Smoke vented from a dozen hull breaches. One engine was completely gone. The other flickered on and off. The ship's hull was scorched black from the shockwave, and large sections were simply missing. But it was moving. Slowly, painfully, it was heading home. On the bridge, Elena Vasquez woke up in the medical bay with a splitting headache. Her head was bandaged. Her arm was in a sling. Every part of her body hurt. But she was alive, Captain, James said, appearing at her side. You should rest. We can handle things. Report, Elena said, trying to sit up and failing. James gently pushed her back down. We're alive. 37 crew members survived. We lost 13, including Lieutenant Chen. His voice broke slightly. The ship is barely functional. Life support is working on 3 decks. We have 1 working engine. Weapons are completely offline. But we're moving. We're heading back to Earth. The Dominion, Elena asked, destroyed. Of the 10,000 ships in the ultimate armada, fewer than 400 escaped the Kepler Nebula. The rest are wreckage. We're picking up scattered transmissions. Their fleet is broken. Ships are deserting. Some are heading back to Dominion space. Others are just running. Grand Admiral Thexaren's flagship was crippled. He survived, but his fleet didn't. Elena closed her eyes. They had done it. 50 humans in 1 ship had destroyed the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. It seemed impossible. It was impossible. But they had done it anyway. Get me communications, Elena said. I need to send a message. Captain, you need rest, James protested. After, Elena said firmly. First, I need to make sure the Dominion understands what happened here. James hesitated, then nodded. He brought over a portable communication unit and set it up next to her medical bed. Elena took a moment to compose herself, to think about what she needed to say. This message would reach not just the Dominion, but every species in the galaxy. It needed to be right. Ready? James asked. Elena nodded. Broadcast on all Dominion frequencies. Maximum power. I want every ship, every planet, every outpost to hear this. The recording began. Elena looked into the camera, her face battered but her eyes clear and determined. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth ship Defiant to all forces of the Galactic Dominion, she began. Your ultimate armada came to conquer Earth. You sent 10,000 ships to subjugate 8 billion humans. You demanded our surrender. You threatened to destroy our world if we didn't submit. She paused, letting that sink in. We answered. 1 ship, 50 crew members. Against impossible odds, we fought. And now your armada is destroyed. 7,000 ships gone. Thousands more fleeing in terror. Your admiral defeated. Your military might shattered. All because you made one critical mistake. Elena leaned forward slightly, wincing at the pain. You thought humans would surrender when we saw your fleet. You thought we would calculate the odds and give up. You thought that showing us overwhelming force would break our spirit. But you don't understand humans. We don't surrender. We don't give up. We don't calculate odds and decide a fight isn't worth fighting. When faced with impossible challenges, we do something you apparently never learned to do. She paused for effect. We fight back, with everything we have, with weapons you've never seen, with tactics you've never imagined, with a determination that doesn't end until either we win or we're dead, and sometimes not even then. Elena gestured weakly around the destroyed bridge. Look at this ship. Look at what 50 humans did to your fleet. Now imagine what 8 billion could do. Imagine Earth's billions working together, building weapons, training soldiers, preparing for war. Imagine every human on every colony, every settlement, every outpost in space, united against a common enemy. That's what you would face if you attacked Earth. Not one experimental ship, not 50 volunteers, but an entire species that doesn't know how to quit. She let that image settle before continuing. The Defiant was an experiment, an attempt to build a ship that could fight using human methods. Human ingenuity, human determination, and yes, human craziness. We broke your warfare conventions. We used weapons you consider dishonorable. We employed tactics you think are impossible. We lied, we cheated, we stole, and we did whatever was necessary to protect our home. Elena's expression hardened. And we would do it again, 100 times over. Earth didn't want this war. We offered peace. We would have been happy to join the galactic community as friends. But you came to us with demands and threats. You treated us as primitives to be conquered. So we showed you what these primitives can do when they're angry. She pointed at the camera. This is humanity's message to the Dominion and to any other species watching. Earth is not for conquest. Humans are not for subjugation. If you come in peace, we will welcome you. If you come in friendship, we will be the best allies you ever had. But if you come with weapons and demands, if you think you can take what's ours, if you believe that superior technology means easy victory, then you will learn what the Dominion learned. Elena's voice dropped, becoming quiet but intense. You will learn that humans fight. We fight smart. We fight dirty. We fight with everything we have and several things we just invented. We turn our weaknesses into strengths. We make weapons out of our desperation, and we never ever give up, not when the odds are against us, not when victory seems impossible, not when any rational being would surrender. We fight until we win or until there's nothing left of us to fight with. She sat back, exhausted. The Defiant is coming home now. We've lost crew members. We've lost friends. Our ship is barely functioning, but we're alive and Earth is safe. That's all that matters. To the Dominion. Stay away from Earth. Find somewhere else to expand. Pick on someone your own size. Or better yet, learn to ask nicely instead of demanding. To the other species watching this, humanity is ready to join the galactic community, but we're joining as equals, not as subjects. We hope for friendship, but we're prepared for anything. Elena smiled slightly, though it clearly hurt. One last thing. I know what you're all thinking. You're thinking that we got lucky, that we couldn't possibly do this again, that this was a fluke. A one-time victory against an overconfident enemy. Let me be clear, this wasn't luck. This was preparation meeting opportunity. This was human ingenuity applied to warfare. This was 50 people who refused to accept defeat working together to achieve the impossible. She leaned toward the camera one more time. And Earth has 8 billion more just like us. So ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Because we're just getting started. The transmission ended. Across the Dominion on thousands of worlds, beings watched the message in stunned silence. Some were angry. Some were frightened. Many were impressed. But all of them understood the same thing. Humanity was not to be trifled with. On Earth, the message was received with joy and relief. The planet's defenses had been mobilizing, preparing for an invasion that now would never come. In the United Nations headquarters, world leaders watched the battle footage and Elena's message with awe. Humanity had survived its first contact with alien civilization, and they had survived by being exactly what they were: stubborn, innovative, and absolutely unwilling to surrender. The Defiant limped into Earth orbit 3 days later. The planet's entire military fleet came out to escort it home. What was left of the crew was met with a hero's welcome. Captain Elena Vasquez and her people had done the impossible. They had saved Earth and shown the galaxy what humans were capable of. But Elena knew this was just the beginning. The Dominion would lick its wounds and eventually return. Other species might see Earth as a threat now. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had just announced its presence in the most dramatic way possible. Standing on the observation deck of the repair station looking down at Earth, Elena thought about the future. There would be more challenges, more threats, more impossible situations where humanity would have to fight against terrible odds. James stood beside her. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I'm thinking that we just started something," Elena said. "For centuries, humans have been alone in the universe. Now we're not. And the galaxy just learned that humans don't surrender. We don't give up. We fight and we win. Or die trying," James added. "Or die trying," Elena agreed. "But here's the thing, we didn't die. 13 of us did, and we'll honor their sacrifice. But most of us survived. We beat impossible odds. We destroyed an armada with one ship. So now everyone knows what humans can do. They know we're dangerous. They know we're crazy. They know we're not to be underestimated." She turned to face James, her expression serious. "The Dominion thought we were easy prey. They thought they could just show up with a big fleet and we'd roll over. They were wrong. And now every species in the galaxy is recalculating their assumptions about humanity. Some will want to be our friends. Others will want to be our enemies. But none of them will think we're easy prey anymore." "Is that a good thing?" James asked. Elena smiled. "It's honest. We showed them who we really are. Not perfect, not peaceful, not weak, just human. And humanity's greatest strength has always been our refusal to accept defeat. Our ability to look at impossible situations and say, let's try anyway." She looked back at Earth, at the blue planet that had given birth to their species. "The Dominion wanted to conquer us. Instead, we conquered their fear. We made them afraid of us. We showed them that humans are not a species you want to fight. And that message is spreading across the galaxy right now. Some species will offer friendship because they respect strength. Others will leave us alone because they fear it. Either way, Earth is safe. For now," James said. "For now," Elena agreed. "But when the next threat comes, when the next impossible situation arrives, humanity will do what we always do. We'll assess the odds, realize they're against us, and then we'll fight anyway. Because that's who we are. That's what we do. We're humanity. And we don't lose because someone tells us we can't win." Behind them, the Defiant floated in its repair dock, scarred and battered but unbroken, just like its crew, just like Earth, just like humanity itself. The galaxy had issued an ultimatum, surrender or die. Humanity had responded, come and make us. And the galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. When you threaten humans, when you demand their submission, when you try to break their spirit with impossible odds, they don't break. They fight back. They innovate. They improvise. They do whatever it takes to survive. And sometimes, against all logic and probability, they win. That was humanity's message to the stars. That was the story the galaxy would tell about the day one ship destroyed an armada. That was the legend of the Defiant and its crazy captain who refused to accept defeat. And it was only the beginning of humanity's story among the stars.